full pads on tomorrow, except for Kwan. I got one more day. Questions?
Kyle, you say most days that it was a physical practice. Was today a little more physical? And if so, what do you attribute that to?
I think yesterday was pretty physical too. I think the emotional level of the team is very good right now. I think it's very competitive. I think when you have a lot of position battles, you guys asked me a question earlier in training camp about all the co-starters. Well, when you got that many positional battles, I think it's good for the football team.
Do you sense that they're itching to kind of put the pads on and do some full contact?
Yeah, there's no doubt. So certainly the skill players on offense. A lot of times when you're thud or when you're tag tempo, there are tackles that they think are made, and there's always some discrepancy between the offense and the defense as to whether or not the tackle would be made. So I'm sure the skill guys on offense are looking forward to it.
With a couple of days or shoulder pads, have you seen any of the guys battling on the O-line separate themselves?
I don't know about separate themselves, but I'll mention one guy today. I would tell you Dorian Miller had a really good day today. I thought he did a very nice job. He showed up to me a little bit.
Speaking of the offensive line, Anthony Davis yesterday, he'll be around a little bit. What can he add just being around helping out?
He can't really do much. He's not a coach. He's not a full-time student, so he's not like a student coach like we've had in the past with some guys. But I think anytime one of our alums comes back and watches practice, talks to a player, says, hey, you might want to try this. It might be the same thing the coaching staff said, but it's coming from Anthony Davis, and maybe it hits him in just a little bit of a different way.
Coach, how has Ruhan acclimated the first few days?
So far, so good. I like what I've seen. Yesterday, I thought he made a nice play on a Leonte, on an in-breaking route Leonte had and knocked the ball down, breaking up a pass. I didn't really see him flash today, but again, kind of like JPO yesterday, I look at the film and JPO had a nice practice yesterday. So I don't know if he did or he didn't, but he didn't show up to me one way or the other today.
Kyle, we tend to group Martin and Hicks together, but taking Hicks by himself, what did he do last year that allowed him to come on so strong? Obviously, bowl MVP, and then how has he continued that through the offseason?
Josh is a powerful runner, a very powerful lower body. Certainly can run away from you, and he's one of those guys that the more carries he gets in the game, I think the more effective he is.
Kyle, what are your thoughts as a head coach when you see guys kind of get into it a little bit in a practice?
I'm happy that there's emotion. I'm happy that they're excited to play football, and now we just got to harness it in the right direction. You want that. You want the guys playing on an edge. Now we just got to harness it and make sure that we're playing on the right side of that edge.
The Geno Smith story, is that something you would address with your players?
I already did.
Yeah.
I think you have to. I think as a coach, you got to take advantage of every teachable moment that there is. And when you hear about a fight in a locker room that results in a broken jaw and one guy getting cut, although like anything else in that league, he gets picked up by somebody else, and sometimes players that leave your program in college get picked up by other places. So he certainly, I don't know the situation well enough to know exactly what happened, but I know the result of it, and the result wasn't good for either party because one guy thought he was on the team, and the other guy thought he was getting a chance to be the starting quarterback, and now neither of those things are in place anymore. So yeah, I think as a head coach, you got to take advantage of those moments.
What are you seeing in nose tackle? Obviously, you got a few different guys working in there.
Well, Sebastian, I think, is a little bit ahead of those other guys right now. Kevin's working hard. He just doesn't have the experience Sebastian does. Kevin's not been here a year less than Sebastian. So I'm really pleased with Sebastian. I'm pleased with how Kevin's working, and I think 2 weeks from now he'll be a different player.
What are your expectations for Federico and follow-up? You expect him to kick off this year?
Well, he didn't have his best day of the year today. I don't know if he'll kick off or not. We'll decide that a little bit later in camp. But he's all we expect from him is consistency. If he can give us the consistency he's given us in the past, we'll be very pleased. And he's been a guy we've been able to count on late in games, and I expect that'll be the case this year.
Kyle, we saw how important Bergen was to the running game last year, the last couple years. Can we expect Bergen to have that kind of contribution? Can he kind of pick up? We know how important fullback is.
I think Sam's going to have a role. I think Rayzon Gross is going to have a role. I think some of those tight ends are going to have a role. So Michael Burton is a special football player and a unique guy at that position. You don't see very many fullbacks drafted in the NFL to begin with. Most of them end up as free agents and sometimes converted players like Ryan D'Imperio was. For us going from linebacker to fullback in that league. But he's a special guy, and that's why he warranted the draft status that he did. So to think one guy is going to replace him, I don't know if that would be fair. But I think we've got a group of people that can be as productive, and that's really ultimately what you want.
To follow up, a couple of guys that keep calling him the strongest guy on the team, Big Cat, Bergen. Is that unusual for the fullback to be the strong? I would think defensive line, offensive line. What is it about Bergen?
Yeah, Sam was a strong guy when he came to our program. And he certainly has gotten stronger in our strength and conditioning program. So I don't know how unusual it is. I bet you Michael Burton is probably in the top 5 as well. So that doesn't surprise me that they call him that. I've heard that nickname before. 2 more questions.
Coach, beyond JPO at the 3 tech, what's that looking like now?
What do you mean?
Like, the guys behind him, Waif and guys like that. How's that position battle shaping up?
I don't know if it's a battle just yet. You got Darius, you got JPO, we got 2 guys in there. Sebastian's played some 3 technique before, and then we got a bunch of young guys. Eric Waif is still a young guy. John Badicky's a young guy. So it'll be interesting to see where those guys are at. Come late second week or the second scrimmage of training camp. They're seeing a lot of this stuff for the first time, and they're seeing it at a high speed. And I think that's going to be good. I think there's been a good back and forth in this training camp, and that'll be good for all those young linemen on both sides of the ball.
Was this the first time Ronnie James got out here for practice?
No, Ronnie's been out here. He's been limited a little bit.
Was he more involved today than before?
I'd have to check see how many reps, but if you notice it, you might be accurate.
I was just going to ask what kind of role could he have, because he's talked a lot about what he does on special teams too.
I think for all these young guys, we're not really going to know what role they're going to have until late the second week, because right now we're still in the process of installing everything. They're doing it for the first time, so it's going to be a little awkward for them. And then as they get some repetitions doing all the things, we'll kind of see who emerges from a special team standpoint.